I'm just so excited. I don't feel that way every day, but I know I need to do it. It's just a duty. It's something that I do out of habit. But I am so grateful.
Hello guys, good morning.
Cavities and I'm paying. So there's benefit to learning.
It's a rainy Saturday morning.
And I think we start with things
As you can see, guys,
something that we're passionate about. And I like to get
again,
to a place where I'm not just praying out of duty. I'm not just
this is my third live, and then
I'm doing it because
as you can see,
I'm doing
this is a Kiyuki weather.
So I want you to
Have you
be
seen that?
about developing a passion for prayer. You know how it can happen? Well,
The forecast of Kiyuki weather is not really working. They said it's gonna be like sunny. They said it's gonna be cloudy, but suddenly it's become like this. So guys, still is a good morning. Still a good morning for me. I already heard some message from Jesus on my channel. Have you seen that? I'm listening now in the radios. I'm tuning to UCB. If you can see on my screen, this one, guys, look, UCB2, Universal Christian Broadcast. So that's every morning I listen to. I tune in this station every day when I go to work. So let's go, guys.
Friendship and confidence that they do. It's such an inspirational moment, okay? The second thing you need to do to develop compassion is this. Study the lives.
It's a rainy morning.
David Brainerd, who went to North American Indians and was a young man who was involved in mission work. I loved his story. It's intimidating. It really is. You lift up like in Brainerd's notes. He said, I got up early in the morning before I began to pray, and I felt so weak, and the prayers didn't.
So again, guys, please comment your name and which country you're from.
I felt myself graciously helped by God, and my prayers were there, and I began to intercede for this nation.
I just want to know, guys, please, because I don't know really who's my subscriber, where they come from, so I can't really took like trying my best to speak English, which is I'm not very good on it. By the way, I'm from the Philippines, so this is my second language. Now third language, because I got my native language, which is Bisaya. Next one is Philippines national language is Tagalog. And this is my third one, is English. So it's been difficult for me to speak English all the way. Please come join me on my journey to go to work. 20 minutes drive. So, and while I'm driving, we can listen to words of Jesus.
What you do is go into the kitchen, kneel down, take an apron, put it over her head. And when the kids were running around,
start our morning by praising Jesus, guys.
She's praying under there. She's praying. I mean, people found a way. And I listened to these stories, and the inspiration of them is just such a blessing to me. And it helps me develop a passion in my own life. I thirdly want to be often in the company of people who like to pray. I love to get around with my friends who take prayer seriously. There's just something about being around those people. Some of the older people I know in the churches that I pastored, who in their senior years just found such a solace and strength in God and spent hours praying. Being in the company of such people, something rubs off on you, man, in terms of desire and a passion to pray. And then ask God to give you a passion to pray. It will help me. I feel weak in this area. Would you strengthen me? Just ask Him for help, and He will help you. I found, I'm a Pentecostal preacher, right? I'm working in a denomination called the Assemblies of God. And I've been committed to praying in a new language. I spoke in tongues. I would call it tongues if you want. It just means language. I found this ability. I didn't learn this. I was given this as a gift, and anybody who's filled with the Holy Spirit can have access to this gift, I believe. In 1 Corinthians 14 verse 4, it says clearly, he who prays in an unknown tongue edifies himself. And there's real power and real benefit from knowing how to pray in this new language, and I've been using that for many years, and I found a great benefit, great blessing as I've learned to access that, and a fresh passion in my heart and mind for prayer, because it says a person who speaks in tongues is strengthened personally in the Lord. You want to strengthen your passion for praying? Wow, there's nothing more powerful for me than seeing myself praying in tongues and feeling that inner strength coming. Well, then I practice biblical meditation, memorization, and of course the culture of fasting. And if you add those things to the arsenal, something begins to happen to you which is absolutely powerful and life-changing. I think it's important that you learn how to pray the Lord's Prayer properly. So get in the right space. That's the first place. When you're praying the Lord's Prayer, you'll need somewhere free from observation and from interruption. And Jesus went on prayer walks, didn't he? He went up into the mountain, went up into the forest areas. He got away from people. And often he utilized the quietness of the early morning to pray. Found that quite interesting. They would be up a while before day. And actually the scriptures say he did this as was his custom, as was his habit. So Jesus had a devotional habit, and you need to have one too. Secondly, I would take some worship material with me. I love to meditate on the revealed names of God. I love to worship around that. And one of the things I do is speak the names of God out loud. Found that the Hebrew names for what God has done in terms of him being a shepherd, a provider, him being our righteousness, him being our healer, and just allow my mind to reflect on all of those things. Sometimes I sing out a new song, open up some of the Psalms, and while I'm reading the Psalms as a part of my devotional habit, I may even put my own song to it, my own tune. Who's there to hear me if I'm there in the quietness of that morning? There's nobody around to know whether I'm a good singer or not. And believe me, my morning voice is not that attractive. But it doesn't matter. God really loves to hear that. And so I sing a new song and maybe take an old tune that I've known very well and try to put these new words to it. That's also a little bit of fun. I enjoy that. Keeps it fresh, keeps it creative. And I begin with a time of worship. Then I'm going to present my body to God. I ask him to watch over my life, my eyes, my ears, my hands, my feet, my tongue, whatever I'm doing, whatever I see, how I'm doing things today, what I'm listening to and hearing, my actions, my direction, my words, everything about my words, my jokes, my expressions, whatever I've done. I've got into serious trouble in life because I just have this little bit of a humorous bent sometimes. I just like to see the funny side in lots of things because some of the things in my life have been pretty sad. Okay, and so you get tired of being sad all the time, and you want to have fun, but you need to be careful you don't take that too far, don't offend people, don't hurt people. So I'm saying, God, help me to be sensitive, even when I'm having fun, to be somebody that's wise and gracious and courteous. And my expressions are always clean, not embarrassing, not polluted with expletives or wrong things. Christians, I know some new Christians can get a little out there. So we're looking at starting our day with worship and purity and clearing our hearts out of the things that could be wrong. And then I'm going to pray prayers of alignment, where I'm praying for my family. They're family members who don't yet know Jesus. Family members whose situations are quite outside of what God's best would be for their lives. And we're praying for that in alignment. I'm praying on their behalf. They don't even know I'm praying, but it's my role as an intercessor to get in between what God is thinking about them and what they're thinking about themselves and say, God, we want these two to be lined up. Whatever the will of heaven is for this situation, I want it to find correlation and congruency so that they're on track with what you do. Now, our praying makes a big difference in those things. I pray prayers of alignment over my family, in my church, at my work and study, and my neighborhood, for my country, for my political leaders. I'm sure you've been praying recently about those things and will continue to do so. For the royal family, and believe me, friends, looking at the recent news in the royal family, they could do with your prayers. And so what we're doing is we're looking at all of these things in the category of the prayer of alignment and saying, look, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I keep a little notebook with me and some clippings from newspapers or magazines, make sure that I can bring those things sometimes into my prayer room and say, God, look at what's being said here in this newspaper. Look what's being said with this political agenda. Look what's happening in this country. Can you help us here? And it keeps prayer very exciting and very engaging. I also then want to outline my request for material or financial provision. And you should write down what your physical needs are, or your financial needs. Write it down so that on such and such a day, I ask God to help me with this. I ask God to provide this. Because you'll look back over that little notebook, as dog-eared and as grubby as it becomes, and you'll look back on it and think, actually, he answered that prayer. There's nothing more inspiring than to be able to know a day when God answered a prayer that you prayed maybe 3 months ago. It's like if you ever felt dry in your prayer life, just knowing that that happened will bring you back to the place of prayer. You'll go, well, he did it then, he can do it again. These little exercises are really helpful for you. So jot down what your physical needs and financial needs are and bring them before God. And then, of course, one of the standards in the Lord's Prayer is about forgiveness and reconciliation. Because in broken relationships, if they're not properly healed and dealt with, they can weaken your praying. They can undermine the power and the intensity of your praying. And actually, Peter says, if you don't treat people properly, it can block your prayer's effectiveness completely. And you don't really want that. So check in on the relational issues in your life. Are you still in a good place with your parents or your siblings, your spouse and in-laws? I know some people's in-laws behave like outlaws, but you've got to love them still. Because we'll really get upset, especially with their in-laws. I remember one guy saying to me, you know, I've got a real soft spot for my mother-in-law. It's a little swamp at the bottom of my garden. I went, whoa, careful with that, careful with that. You've got to have good relationships with all the members of your family, your spouse, your children, your in-laws, and make sure that they're all good. If there's anything out of whack with all of that, be quick to put it back in alignment. Church members, they're getting a fuss and a fight with each other too often. It's just a part of our immaturity, you know, learning how to live together and not rub each other up the wrong way. Well, look, listen, your brothers and sisters in church are forgiven. They are not perfect. And so there's lots of scope and capacity to get on one of those nerves. But that's because we're learning how to be gracious, we're learning how to be big-hearted. And that opportunity is your opportunity not to get angry, but to grow. If you're mature enough, then you will. If you're a baby Christian and you don't want to grow, then you'll sulk and you get upset with people. God says it's time to put those relationships right. Stop sulking, stop whining, stop acting like a baby, dry your tears, clean your behavior up, and act appropriately, and God will bless you. See, we've got to put these things right because our prayer life gets affected if we don't. Our work connections, our friends, and our neighbors. Oh, some of you have got some terrible neighbors. I know, they're working your last nerve. Absolutely. Because God's bringing them into your attention. The neighbor that you think is the neighbor from hell is getting on your nerve is the neighbor that needs your prayers. And their annoyance is like a little trigger to get you to pray for them. Please don't plan to blow up their house. What you need to do is to plan to bring them into your prayer group, into your prayer list, and make sure that we're praying. Because we need to check in on relational issues to make sure that they're all good. Because God has made the relational issue with us good. He's forgiven us and given us an opportunity to be restored. We've got to have that same heart towards other people. I mean, they may not respond appropriately, but we have to have a good heart towards them so that our praying is not hindered. Make sure that you do that well. And if you note something in all of those things that needs attention, well, write it in your notebook. And you've got to process it after you've come out of that quiet place so that you can make a phone call. To set up a meeting, go and sit with somebody, go visit them, go meet them so that you can say, let's resolve this issue, let's get this put straight. When it comes to the stanza in the Lord's Prayer about praying about temptations, I would say that when you get into your prayer closet, ask God to search your heart and highlight any vulnerable areas. Just ask him. I mean, we've all got blind spots. We think, oh, we're okay with everybody and we're okay with our life. There's no desire to do wrong and to sin and to be tempting. But some things can be sneaking up on our blind side. And as we say, God, would you help me? Is there anything that's happening around here? Am I going to get ambushed anywhere today in terms of temptation? Can you make me aware? Can you make me sensitive to that? You'd be amazed at the kind of things that come to mind, or the kind of things that God prepares for you when you ask for those things. So ask him for vulnerable areas of concern that you need to be aware of. Or if he highlights a fact of wrongdoing that you've been involved in, be quick to confess that and be specific about it. If I've wronged, if I've done anything wrong, maybe, I'm not sure, but no, be specific. Listen, I lied. Okay, I was rude to that person. I was impatient there. I was short on patience. I snapped at somebody today. God, forgive me. Just be honest and be specific. And keep doing that. Keep a short account of those things in terms of your prayer life, and God will help you with that. Be clear on how you're going to set boundaries for the day, especially in the areas that he highlights. You may have a vulnerability. So make sure that you know how to handle appropriate relationships with the opposite sex, appropriate relationships at points of vulnerability. Be very truthful. You're going into a very tough business meeting or some kind of negotiating situation at work. Just have the right attitude. Give me your wisdom and your grace. Pace me in that meeting, Lord. All those kind of things. You ask him for help in those things because they could be the very things that become like a booby trap for your life and can destroy your testimony. So you want to be aware of how to pray ahead of those temptations and pressuring points so that you can be held accountable for it. You can put in appropriate boundaries for it. You've got an awareness of how to handle it well. That way you don't embarrass yourself and you maintain the credibility of your testimony as a Christian believer. And when it comes to the last stanza in the Lord's Prayer of really requesting spiritual protection, ask God, I need protection from demonic assault. Now, I know that some people think all demons and ugly things like this are just assigned to Hollywood myths. But you and I know different. If we believe the Bible, we realize that there is supernatural evil beyond what we can see. There is a supernatural reality beyond what we can see. It's the realm of angels and as much as demons. And the good side of it is God has angelic assistance that helps people. I actually believe that. I can tell you some stories of things which I think, wow, in that moment I was helped and it had to be more than human. And so I can't deny that angels are real. But so as the demonic, there was a dark and shadowed side of spirituality that needs our protection. We need to be protected from. So ask God, protect me from supernatural evil. Don't let me get ambushed by the forces of darkness that have no other agenda but to steal, kill, and destroy my Christian life. And I don't want to have it. I don't want to have that which is legitimately mine stolen from me. I don't want to have my joy and my life in God killed and the life taken out of my walk with God. Something that will be destroyed. If you break something, well, irreparable and never functioned the way it was designed to. Hey, I don't want that to be me. I don't want to be one of those statistics. So God, help me and protect me from that. Keep my eyes open from deception. And in today's culture where we've got an openness to all kinds of spiritual activity and inquiry and investigation, people have got themselves involved in all kinds of occult or alternative spiritual expressions, and it could affect their life. I know Christians who engage in Ouija boards or tarot cards and have their palm read, or did fortune telling or horoscopes, or are committed to watching horror movies. They like the weirdness that comes with all of that, not realizing that behind a lot of these things there are supernatural powers that are seeking to find a vantage point and a foothold into the thinking and into the emotions of those believers and fill them with all kinds of fears, anxieties, and confusions. We need to be sure that we don't open the door to any of those things in our lives. And that if we have done, that God rinse us free from the influence of those things and remove the shadow of those things by sending his light into every area of our heart and mind. It's very important that we pray for protection, spiritual protection from those things. And of course, lastly, I want to thank God. I want to say yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. And I thank you on the basis of Ephesians chapter 6 that he's given us the whole armor of God. And my mind is covered with the salvation and the good things that God has done in my life through Christ. I reflect on often. The breastplate of righteousness that Jesus has done for me, on the shield of faith, the assurance that comes from the...
Hey guys, I reached work already. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a rainy day. Rainy Saturday morning. Okay guys, I'm going to end up my live, so I'm going to start my work. See you guys. God bless you all. See you next time. You take care.